Do you feel like you never really had a childhood, that you have always been looking after others, trying to fix things? You probably experienced something known as parentification. Parentification is a very common form of emotional neglect, and it's probably one of the worst forms of emotional neglect. And it tends to happen when you have narcissistic parents. It can happen in other circumstances as well, but particularly with narcissistic parents because of their own self centeredness, of their own lack of empathy, and the fact that they don't prioritize their children. They don't see their children as separate beings that need to grow and be nurtured as individuals. They see them only as an extension of themselves. And narcissistic parents will generally look at the children as if they're there to serve them. So basically, they have this idea that you owe them. You owe them just for being born, as if you asked for that. So basically, what happens with parentification, and it can take many forms. It could be it could really be physical in the sense that you literally have to look after somebody physically, but the more common form is the emotional caretaking. Narcissists do not have any capacity for emotional regulation because everything is so buried deep down that the only emotion they can feel is rage when they don't feel that they have power or control over things. And so anything else is projected. They project everything, and you become a type of container. So they're almost like throwing their crap onto you. I always think of it like a game of hot potato. Like, here, this is yours now, and now you're kind of like, I don't know what to do with this. I've nowhere else to throw this to. I've got to hold it, and my hands are getting burned, and it hurts. That you are put in a position where you have to manage or contain their emotions, their thoughts, their feelings, whatever is going on for them. And sometimes it takes the form where you could be treated more like a servant. So in other words, particularly if there's other siblings, you might be forced into the role of like an extra parent looking after those siblings while the parent or parents don't really engage, or maybe they even go out and leave you alone with them. Or sometimes they might treat you as a confidant. So you might have a parent who is complaining about their love life or their partner or their marriage or whatever, but it's really inappropriate, and they're putting you in a position that is much older, first of all, than your years, because this could happen when you're a child. It could even happen as a teenager. It's not your job to look after your parents' emotional needs. You are supposed to be able to be a child. The whole idea of childhood, it's supposed to be learning and growing and worrying about kid things, right? Like regular things. So they're supposed to be, home is supposed to be a safe haven. I always describe it as a soft place to land. So you have this soft, in an ideal or a secure attachment, or with healthy parents, they're there to look after you, and that's your soft place. So you can go out, take some risks, fall on your face a little bit, do the things you need to do. And if you have a bad day, or someone picked on you or whatever, you can come home and you're cared for and you feel safe. And that is how we heal. And that is how that's how we build resilience, but in a healthy way. So what happens with narcissistic parents is you're going to have an attachment wound. You're going to have an insecure attachment. And so you don't have that proper bond. Home is not a safe place. And so you're going to have this constant fear, this constant anxiety, this constant feeling that if you don't control it or you don't try to fix it, everything is going to fall apart. And somehow it's all on you. It becomes your responsibility. And you're put in this position where you are trying to hold everything together, which obviously is not possible and should never, ever, ever be your job. So that's why parentification is so traumatic for a child to go through, because it sets you up for a life of being a people pleaser. It sets you up for always trying to control every situation, always trying to fix things, always trying to take care of people. And this can then go into your future relationships with friends and particularly with future partners. And it also, unfortunately, makes you very vulnerable to then getting into a relationship with another narcissist. So parentification can also take the role of, you could become another spouse or even the primary spouse. What the idea is that emotionally you are put in this position of almost like a spouse to that parent. And so that's where they are treating you like they might go over the finances with you. And it's not about keeping you in the loop. It's like getting you to worry about it. Like, oh no, we're going to lose the house. Everything's bad. And you're like 6. Like, what are you supposed to do about it? And then it makes you really afraid and really scared. And then some of the things that sometimes happen with the coping is sometimes you might dissociate because it's just too much. And we go outside what is known as our window of tolerance. We can't handle it. We don't have the coping skills for it, especially at a young age. We're not wired for that. So what happens is that you can go into a freeze, and a freeze is where you're like kind of like and so because your body is kind of gonna start to shut down, your mind's gonna start to shut down. You can almost desensitize yourself, or you can become withdrawn, or you become numb. So you can almost become numb to it, and you become very used to it. And a lot of times people that are dissociative, they can talk in a very flat way. They can have a very flat affect to the way they talk. And as they get older, someone could ask them, like, how is your child? And they go, oh, it's fine. There's nothing much really happened. It was fine. And it's almost like you're completely cut off because you had to out of survival. So another thing that could happen is you could go into fight mode. And particularly if you have two parents that are arguing or there's a lot of violence, you might be the person throwing yourself in the middle of it to try and almost break up the fight, because that's your sense of trying to fix it or trying to control. You could go into what we know as fawn. And fawn is where you're trying to smooth everything over. It's kind of like placating. And this is where that's part of that people pleasing pattern. It's okay, everything's all right. And what do you need me to do? And almost become like a little helper and a way to try. You just want to smooth everything over because you just want all the bad stuff to go away. And then, of course, we have the flight. And that is where you might just run away. Either you're hiding if you can't leave the house, or sometimes you literally run away as you get older. And this can set you up for a pattern of an avoidant attachment, where things get tough or things get scary, you flee, or maybe withdraw. So a lot of these things can also overlap. So those are some of the ways that you can respond to parentification on various roles. It puts you into the role of confidant or like best friend. It can put you into the role as almost like a surrogate spouse. It could put you into the role as a servant. It could put you into the role as like a nanny or caretaker for the other kids, or even a caretaker for that parent. It could put you into the role of business manager, where you have to manage the finances. You can see how you can be wearing many hats. But the bottom line is it's inappropriate. No child or teenager or even young adult should never be put in this position. They're the parent. You're the child. They're supposed to be looking after you, not the other way around. Now, the good news about this is that even if this is your upbringing, if you work with a really good therapist who understands narcissism, understands attachment, understands parentification, you can start to heal from this, and you can begin to see the patterns of what happened in that and start to absolve yourself. First of all, not blaming yourself for anything that happened before, but also to start letting go of that sense of responsibility so that you can then go into healthier, happier, more appropriate relationships. And you really can improve your life. You can even change your attachment style to what we call earned secure attachment, where you can learn to have secure attachments with safe, and that's the key, finding safe people, finding the people that you can be vulnerable with in the future. But it's something, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but with the work and with the right person in your corner, and maybe finding other people along the way that are also, whether it's a group or whether it's other survivors or other people that understand, you can come out of this much stronger. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.